the cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, squirm, for now down here come the claws.
So I'm going to go ahead and run through the pieces we're using for this fight real quick. For the weapon, we are choosing Gaunter Mail, because it's a +3 longbow. Effectively just gives us the most damage per shot that we can work with at this point in the game. So it's just kind of an obvious pick. Close second would be the Titan String Bow while the bug still exists, where it's applying strength modifier multiple times on special arrows, but for the sake of longevity I'm doing Gaunter Mail here. The Sentinel Shield is chosen because we need to beat Raphael in initiative in this strategy. Pretty simple, +3 to initiative rolls, very, very good. For the weapon, we'll be using Ambusher for the additional +1 to initiative rolls, and for the d6 of necrotic damage against any creature that hasn't taken a turn. The d6 will end up mattering quite a bit once we get all of our combat debuffs set up. Boots don't matter, you can run whatever you want here. For the gloves, I'm running the Dark Justiciar Gauntlets for the d4 necrotic damage. There's a pair of gloves that you can buy from the vendor in the Murder Tribunal that give you a d6 force damage on crit that technically do slightly more damage, but in the later parts of the fight, once you're handling the rest of the NPCs that aren't Raphael, I find it better to have the necrotic damage than to be relying on the crits for the force damage. For the armor, there are two choices. I'm going with the Ballist armor here because the Aura of Murder makes the second part of the fight substantially easier. Your other choice would be the Elegant Studded Leather. They both give a +2 bonus to initiative rolls, and the Elegant Studded Leather gives you a use of shield, which can make the fight very consistent and kind of give you some safety. But I find the doubled piercing damage to be more useful, generally speaking. For our cloak, we're using the Duststalker Mantle. One of the main ways we're going to be keeping ourselves safe in the latter part of the fight is by staying either invisible or in Sanctuary, so this giving us free invisibility on a kill is very powerful. For the helmet, we're using the Helmet of Grit for the additional bonus action. We only have 8 HP to begin with, so we're pretty much always going to be under 50% because 1 health is equal to 8 health here. For the necklace, we're using the Amulet of the Devout for additional DC to our Perilous Stakes cast. This is not necessary if you're willing to do a few reloads to get the cast to work on the first turn. You could theoretically run something like the Harper Amulet and get an additional use of shield, but if not, Amulet of the Devout is just kind of the default choice here. For our rings, we're going to go with 2 damage options. The Strange Conduit ring will give us a d4 psychic damage while we're concentrating, which we will be the entire fight. And the Shadow Cloak ring will give us a d4 against obscured targets. The only areas in the room that are not obscured are these light beams coming in through the windows here and up on the higher platform. Everywhere else, if you turn off all of the candelabras and candles, is considered lightly obscured, so you'll get the additional d4 on the damage. For our pre-fight buffing, the notable things are the Drake-Throat Glaive. This gives you a cast of Elemental Weapon once per long rest, which will give your weapon a +1 to its attack rolls and an additional d4 of damage. We use this to choose either Lightning or Acid because they both work on Raphael, and apply it to Gaunter Mail for additional damage. This is basically just free damage. You can equip it, cast it on the weapon, and then unequip it, and it'll persist until long rest. We'll be using an Elixir of Bloodlust. The additional action economy matters quite a bit here for getting the damage that's required to do this fight. The Gloves of the Automaton will give us advantage for 10 turns. With the duration of the pre-fight setup, it'll end up being closer to 5 to 6 turns, but that's more than what we need to work with. We'll be using the Ring of Shadows to cast Pass Without Trace before combat, and we'll be maintaining concentration on it for the majority of combat. Once this is cast, the ring can be removed and we can put one of our damage rings back on. We're doing this to make sure that we're getting our surprise round against Raphael, and in addition to being able to set up reliably next to him after we do our precasting. Getting found would mean we'd have to reload, and it's quite annoying. We'll be applying Crawling Mucus to our bow. This is for paralysis against Raphael on the first turn, and we'll see how that plays out when we get to that part of the fight. This invisibility potion is one that I'll be throwing on a Mage Hand. Mage Hand is pretty crucial in this fight in terms of giving us the extra action economy that we need, so remembering to throw this is pretty important. Phalar Eluve will give us the Phalar Eluve Melody ability, and we'll be using Shriek. This will add a d4 of damage to all of our attacks, in addition to reducing the saving throws of things that are inside of its aura. Once we cast this, it can just be removed, and we can put a different weapon on top of it, so we'll be precasting that as well for free damage. And then we'll be applying the typical Potion of Speed and Potion of Invisibility as we go into the fight.
If you have no.
At least things have stayed interesting. No choice but to keep going.
Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore. Closer to her.
Hell, hell, hell has its laws. Hell, hell, effect and the cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, squirm, for now down here come the claws.
Lives, all mortal lives, expire. Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
Fools, fools, how hard you have fought. Pray, but it's all been for naught. True souls that couldn't be bought, doomed, detected, and caught.
Blood comes easy these days.
No more deals, it's over.
defeat.
The final act, you're doomed. No more grace, it's over. This house of hope. You're doomed.
Better be cautious. Very well. Light on my feet. May the gods take you first.
All mortal lives expire. Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
Hell has its laws. Hell. Effect and the cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, for now down here come the claws.
Lives, all mortal lives expire. Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
Fools, how hard you have fought. Brave, but it's all been for naught. True souls that couldn't be bought. Doomed, detected, and...
All mortal lives expire. Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
Hell has its laws. Hell. Effect and the cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, for now down here come the claws.
All mortal lives expire. Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Hell has its laws. Hell. Effect and the...
All mortal lives expire. Souls go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
gods are watching me. Never wanted the easy path. Breathe quiet. Move with care.
All mortal lives expire. Those go to their dooms in flame forevermore.
Hell, hell.
Don't draw any attention. On my way.
All mortal lives expire.
What path lies before me?
No more devils, no more debts. With its master gone, the house is nothing more now than an empty carcass.